Do you like hearing the Friday intro?
I like the Friday intro. Yeah.
No Bethany. We didn't podcast last Friday. I had some stuff to tend to here. And Bethany is usually on Fridays, and I don't know. She is in. I think she left Wednesday night. She is in Disney.
Lucky her.
She coaches gymnastics for St. Ursula, and they're down at Nationals, and so no Bethany today. And I don't know if you saw the picture, but she posted some things from down there, and there's a bunch of people laying down. The girls are laying down with their feet together in a circle, and I immediately asked Bethany if that was some type of cult.
That's really funny, or some sort of, some kind of ritual. No, I mean, it probably is a ritual for them and for their dance team. Something, what is that called, where people have rituals ahead of things because they think it gives them luck? Superstition.
Yeah, I call it a cult.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, they're really good. I think aren't they a gymnastics dance team? They're more dance than they are gymnastics, right?
People are probably waiting for me to say gymnastics is not a sport, but I'm not going to.
No, gymnastics is a sport. It's definitely a sport.
Is bike riding a sport?
Yes.
Who asked me this the other day? Did you? No, somebody else said their brother was. Oh, my good friend Julie. I told her that I had never seen her brother before, but she always tells me about how much her brother loves like 80s cartoons and Batman. And then I saw a picture of him, like, now I know why you like me. Like, me and your brother are the same person. And then she's like, but you don't try to convince me that bike riding is a sport. And I'm like, no.
It is a sport.
It's an activity.
No, it's a sport. I mean, like the same as running. Running is a sport.
Just because you put a timer on something and give out awards doesn't mean it's a sport.
So you don't think running is a sport? Don't you go down this rabbit hole with me?
No, I think running is. I wouldn't necessarily say bike riding. Bike riding to me is just like nobody leisurely runs. You're running for a purpose. I know I'm parsing things here, but I have no problem saying running is a sport while bike riding is more. Is bowling a sport?
Yeah. No, bowling is an activity.
Is golf a sport? The answer is no.
But it is, though, isn't it? It's considered that. You just don't think it is.
It's not a sport. If you can drink while you're doing it, and many people do, or smoke cigars, it's not a sport.
I guess so. I mean, I think it's a competitive. It can be a competitive sport, or it can be a leisure activity. But so can most things.
Competitive activity.
I don't know. I do truly think bike riding is a sport when you're doing it for that. Like, you have to make sure your I don't know how to explain it. Your gears and your speed are correct. You're breathing correctly. You're timing things correctly. You're turning correctly. You know what I mean? Like I think bike riding is a sport. I disagree.
Okay, fair enough. There was something I wanted to tell you that couldn't be on the podcast that just came my way. I'll save that for after the podcast.
All right, fine.
Good stuff too. Really good stuff. But why did you ask me about Jewish? Can we talk about this here?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, we've seen very publicly what's happening with Whoopi at The View, and I don't really share many opinions publicly at all. And I know that she came under. Well, you think so? Well, besides this.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Now I got you.
Yes. Okay. But I was quietly just kind of paying attention to it. Because, I mean, I think that what got her in trouble and was the PR, mess that was created was that she said what happened with the Jews and the Nazis was not about race. And and then everybody came after her, but I had to take a pause. And I said, but I think that would I don't think that means, okay, so my thought was, the Jewish people, there's a component of race, but then they're also grouped together based on their religion, their religious beliefs and life, and that create then a practice and a lifestyle, correct?
Yeah. I'm not the right person to ask, and I saw the Whoopi thing too, and I was stunned when I saw the headline: Whoopi suspended for Holocaust comments. I'm like, really? And then I read them, and you tell me. I read the apology. Like, we can move on from this. I think she just really fumbled things, fumbled getting out what she was trying to convey, as opposed to a hateful sentiment.
Absolutely. I don't think Whoopi Goldberg is anti-Semitic by any means. I think that she has lived a life and has practiced a life in such a way that she is a true ally, for many groups. And I think her reputation speaks for itself. I think some of the folks that wanted to get at her took their opportunity to get at her, and the public outcry was that, besides the Anti-Defamation League and things like that, they're doing what is their job to call it out. I think that ABC had to suspend her because of how many people were just crying out based on what she said. And I think that if she were able to flesh that out more, and it wasn't a quick talking point that she had to say and then move on from, then I think that she could have explained that, because we do know, that the Nazis believed themselves to be superior because of, their race. It was white supremacy. That is about race, but you know what I mean? So, and I think that she knows that. I think that that's common. I do think that she knows that. I think she just really fumbled on what she said. And I don't think you and I talked about it at all. And I said, okay, I have thoughts on this. I wonder what Eric thinks. And I do that with you for a lot of reasons, but also because you're Jewish. So I'm like, I have thoughts on this where I'm like, it's not about race, but it was about what happened to them was about race. But are they a racial group of their own? I don't think so.
It's not about race on their end. It was about
Correct.
About Germans and the Aryan nation. So I am not a I'm not a 1920 to 1945 expert. And I know that there have been lots of parallels to Trump and fascism and all that stuff, and some analogies. And I guess a lot of authoritarian regimes arise in similar fashions. Yeah. And I wasn't taking a pot shot at the former president there. I was trying to get my thoughts together. And I'll come back to you. So as far as I know, it's maybe inarguable that nobody has been picked on and enslaved more in human history than people of the Jewish religion. So after we kicked Germany's ass in World War I, Germany was in shambles, catastrophic shambles. And I think that's where Hitler's populist movement came along. And as he began to garner some power, when you need somebody to blame. I'm not going to blame America. So as far as I know, he blamed the Jews. Similar to some of the things we have going on in this country now. If you treat black people and anybody of color equally, we are giving up our power as white people. He kind of
That's what they believe, yeah.
Yeah, he ran that game on Jewish people, and before you know it, there were yellow stars and 6 million dead, gassed, burned, everything. I think the question you asked came up in an on-air discussion one time, and I had Sarah Haggerty calling the old radio show, trying to explain it. And it really got into the weeds. But me personally, it's a belief system, not a religion, because, how do you define yourself as an African American, right?
Correct.
All right. African country, American country. There is no Jew land. Israeli would be a nationality, an ethnicity,
correct.
I suppose. But correct. Jewish is a belief system, a religion, like Catholicism and Christianity. And that's where, we twist things. People are I hate Muslims. Or you hate the religion, or are you tying them to an ethnicity? Because I think people use the word Muslim as an ethnicity, but Jewish, or Judaism, it's a belief system. There is no country like Muslim. There are countries that have people that are filled with those who follow Islam and that stuff. And I'm sorry if I'm fumbling my stuff now, but to me, these things are, being Muslim and being Jewish are religions, not ethnicities. There's probably somebody out there who can make a really good argument against that, but yeah. So that's my answer. It's a religion, nothing more. I view myself as an American, an Ohioan now, a Philadelphian. My religion is Judaism.
And I think that I appreciate that we're both kind of, and I hope you're not offended when I say this, but we're like fumbling fools over the conversation. But I feel like that's pretty normal. I feel like there's a lot of people that are interested in what's going on, or maybe not interested, but see what's going on and have some thoughts about it, but don't know enough to really say anything. So then there's no like learning happening when it comes to that, that was what I thought. I think that, and that was kind of what I came to you and I said, wait a minute, because if you and I weren't best friends and we were dating and we were getting married and you said, well, I need you to convert to Judaism, I could do that.
Right.
And I'm a black person and I could do that. And so I said, I think that's where I, was like, well, it's not necessarily a race. And I think it is a controversial topic to say that the Jewish people do come from a land. I'm not saying that I think that, but I'm saying I know that is like their homeland or their, you see what I mean? Like if you're someone praying to Mecca. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Anyway, but I'm like, she was partially right and she was partially wrong, but it was very clumsily, delivered. And that's just the name of the game. And I think that statistically it's bound to happen. I mean, The View has come under fire for saying a lot of dumb stuff. So usually from Meghan McCain, but now she's not there anymore. But she definitely took her swipe at Whoopi because of it.
Well, here's the thing. And I don't know who said this, whether it was a polarizing figure or someone who just happens to have a talk show every day. It was one or the other. If you do a job like that and you're on the air, how long is that show? An hour?
An hour, yeah.
An hour. I mean, there's people who do, radio talk shows of all kinds. And when you're sitting there, like the hardest thing I think to do, at least in my business, is to do a talk show by yourself. You are talented and thoughtful and prepared and so many other things. I certainly couldn't do 3 hours by myself every day. But when you have that kind of platform with all the words that you put out into the ether, you're gonna fumble every now and then. Hopefully less often than not. And same thing with The View. They're on the air for the most part, like they have general topics, but it's pretty freeform. And especially when if you get caught by something that's just sprung on you and it's a sensitive or a volatile issue, you can put your foot in your mouth. So that's why it's important to take the grand scope of someone's intention and words rather than, cherry picking certain things. And it seems like ABC did the right thing. Like, to just quiet this thing down and wait for the next thing to come. We're going to suspend you for a day. Go enjoy the snowstorm.
Yeah. Okay, moving on.
Speaking of snowstorms, it's day 2 of many people's snowcation. I may have passed this along in some ways the other day, but I like this snowstorm more than like the typical ones we get, the 4 to 6 inches, the 4 to 8 inches, because with these, there are a lot fewer. Like, the problem is driving.
Right.
People drive either far too cautiously or far too recklessly, and it's awful. Like, it's so appropriate that every time we have a storm, even if it's just raining, like, you live here. You've been in 1,000 rainstorms. You live in Ohio. It snows all the time. How are you still driving this poorly? But at least when it's like this, people are at home. There's a lot fewer people on the road, and it's much easier, at least for me to manage, because the drive is the dangerous part. Like, so what if you're stuck in your house? Especially for all these people who are now, like, on their, like, 58th hour of drunkenness from all the alcohol they bought to prepare for the storm. So everybody's home today, except for you and me.
Maj definitely got her Cooper's Hawk bottles just in time.
Yeah.
I totally thought of her, but yeah, the only thing I was surprised about this snowstorm, and I was like, is this us? Like, is this a normal thing to do, or is it because we were prepared? The amount of things that were closed because of the storm, I had to come to work every day this week except the day that I was out, fixing my car, and the snow hadn't come at that point, but I was working every day this week, and so things were still status quo for me. And if I needed to swing home really quick or on the way home swing by and get some cat food, I couldn't do that because everything was closed. Literally everything was closed, and I'm not used to that, and I don't know if that's a bit of overkill or not. We got ourselves a snowstorm, but we managed it just fine. Use your own discretion if you're going to be out or not. And I'm not saying that I want people working in grocery stores to always be the ones put at risk. I don't want anybody to be put at risk because they have to come out to work. But I truly thought it was pretty manageable. But I am also someone that, like you said, I really enjoy stuff like this. Like, I had a really good time when again, that also sounds insensitive compared to the people that were like ran off the road. But it was interesting. It makes the driving to and from work every day this week very interesting.
Yeah. I learned that I have really good tires in my car. So, and I'm waiting
Good for you.
Hear more insight from my brother about that. I remember, so I haven't had a two-wheel drive car or a car that isn't four-wheel drive since 2010 or so. Because it was one of those couple of winters back to back in Pennsylvania where we were just getting slammed by storms, and I got spooked into four-wheel drive, and ever since then, it's all I've had. Now, I'm still careful, but I don't recall ever having tires like I've had now that have gripped the road with what's going on so well. And to add to your why are all these places closed, remember, a lot of these places were already struggling to stay open because of Omicron stuff to begin with.
Good point. Short staffing. Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, and then the other thing that was a little bit obnoxious, again, because I was out every day this week, the amount of cars, and I don't think that I was that person driving overly cautious, like you mentioned. Like, I don't think I was that person. I mean, did I go the speed limit? No, but was I maybe 5 miles under the speed limit? Most likely. Like, I would speed up until I knew I was getting close to maybe a traffic light. Tell her I'll call her back. A traffic light. Like, if I know I'm getting, close to like a traffic light, I'll speed up. Hold on.
You're fine.
Okay. So I would slow down. I knew if I'm coming to a stoplight, I'm going to slow down, and probably slow down earlier than usual. The amount of cars that were just tailgating you. And I don't understand. I'm like, this is not the weather to tailgate somebody in. They'll tailgate you until they go around you. And it's like, you're going to spin out, right? I mean, I saw 2 cars spin out from going around me. And I don't feel like I was going that slow. And one of the cars that tailgated me and went around me yesterday was a little BMW, like a small one. And I'm like, where do you think you're going? My Jeep did pretty well in this weather. I was really proud of my old girl, especially since I got her fixed this week. But it was exciting. It was interesting and exciting and dangerous. I feel bad for some of the folks that got stuck, and because I know that was really inconvenient. But yeah, now it's past us. So now it was interesting as I'm driving around today, I'm seeing everybody kind of getting up and getting out. Lots of people shoveling. I was out shoveling again this morning. Lots of people digging their cars out from on the side of the street.
Anybody that wasn't asked to the sheriff's department or our meteorologist, I hope they're stuck. And if they get if they get hypothermia or frostbite, I don't care. People were awful.
Yes.
People are awful. So kind of a serious topic, and I don't think I've shared this with you before, and I don't want to go too much longer than like another 10 minutes, so I got to do the on-air show. But so Amazon is raising its price.
Yes.
$119 to $139. I probably get more use out of Amazon than most people because Yeah, I do it for the shopping, but I also watch a lot of Amazon content. There's some I off the top of my head, I would say there's more Amazon original shows that I like than on Netflix. And it had me thinking, like, have you seen the story about Jeff Bezos' yacht? So wherever he's going, his like 3-sail yacht, it can't get through because there's a bridge. It's too low. So they're deconstructing the bridge to get his yacht through. And it's just like par for the course. Like, whatever. We would probably all do that if we were like bazillionaires anyway. I have a concern. Like, there's the inflation thing that so many people are concerned about. Although Mark Zuckerberg lost a lot of money. So I know we don't ever like talk about stocks or finances on the show, but I watch things. I watch the stock market, and yesterday, Facebook went from like $330 a share to about $230 a share, and that's like trillions of dollars. Like, it's crazy. Like, there's a straight down line. It's kind of wowing to see. People are aware of the inflation stuff, costs going up, gas prices, blah blah blah. I have some concerns that I don't think I've really seen anybody discuss. So people have had wages raised, and I think for the most part, they've had some of those wage increases wiped out by cost increases. I fear that most businesses will not be willing to give up profit or sacrifice profit so that they can pay their employees more. They'll just raise prices. I know that there are like examples of places not doing this, but I just don't trust these businesses. So what's inflation has been, everybody has seen these stories, like inflation is at a rate that we haven't seen in 40 years and whatever. My concern is, and it's my like one black helicopter, you're going to get 5G if you take the vaccine kind of conspiracy theory. It's not even like, if I did believe in that, this is what it would be. So inflation will not stay where it is and prices will come down, but they will likely still very much be quite higher than before the pandemic. And my black helicopter conspiracy theory, if I believed one, was all these businesses got together, started the virus so they could raise prices. Look, I don't believe that. That's not the case, but it's going to happen. So it's kind of like do you ever think, like, you ever see something, especially during like Black Friday, like 40% off or like lowest price yet, and that price is still arguably where it was recently, but the fact that it says it's on sale, or the fact that it was already marked up way high anyway, that business will still make a profit. Like, that's my concern. Once COVID and inflation begins to subside, things will still be very expensive, more expensive than they were, and people's salary and wage increases will just be completely wiped out.
So I have a really good example, and I feel like it was because I was paying attention to this for some time. So before Thomas and I got engaged, I was ready for it. I was obsessive about it. I wasn't obsessive, but we've talked about this. Like, I was like, when is it happening? We're knocking on the door of 6 years, you know? So I would go on to, and I really liked the idea of him finding my engagement ring on a couple websites that I had found and doing it online. And so I had seen good examples of, you know, rings that I was interested in and diamonds that I was interested in. And I remember for that, at least 2 years around the holiday, and then around the holidays, so Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, and then around Valentine's Day, these websites would market these huge prices. They would say, okay, you know, X amount of percentage off or X amount dollars off of your engagement ring while it lasts, but the rings were more expensive. So it's like, you just made the ring that is normally $2,500 to buy, $3,100 to buy, and you're going to give them 30% off or whatever. So you made it more expensive. Like, we see what you're doing. And so they made the goods itself more expensive, but then like tried to give you a percentage off. So they were still making a profit off of it, which was obnoxious. So I think that that's a pretty good example, but I agree with you. I mean, but maybe I disagree that prices are going to come down. I don't think they're going to come down. Like, I don't know. And maybe, what do you mean? Are you referring to things like gas?
gas,
And
gas,
meat.
gas is always kind of fluid. I think
Right.
so. Personally, so my collectibles are undergoing another price increase for the second one in 6 months. And
Oh, geez.
it's so the things I buy often are like $19.99. They went up to $22.99. Now they're going up to $24.99. It's like a 25-30% increase. And that's for a lot of things that we buy. And that price is not likely to come down. So I think a lot of things will come down, but not to the point of where they were before. And to that Hasbro thing that I just mentioned, they go, supplies cost more and blah, blah, blah. Like the things that you would expect. But like what you just talked about with the jewelry and stuff, I know a lot of people, like there are political parties and political belief systems that are founded in disbelief of the government and just not trusting politicians. And I understand that. Like, we have seen a lot of ineptitude and incompetence and bad leadership over the last 2 years. But I would rather put my faith in that than business. Because it's not everybody, but far too many businesses are greedy. And I'm not saying like local businesses. Like, I don't think Monette's is trying to take all my money. But I think we've given a couple of examples now. And look, you cannot simply buy all local all the time.
Right.
And if you don't do anything Amazon, like good for you. I just find the convenience and the cost better for my lifestyle. And at the end of the day, like we've talked about before, we let our dollars make our decisions. And I just fear, I think some costs will come down. But to your point, my collectibles aren't coming down on those prices. They're not going to rescind that price hike. And it sucks because in the same way that a company I'm familiar with used COVID, they would have done this anyway, but they used COVID as a cover to do employee reductions and staff reductions because they're like, great, all this did was speed up the timeline for us to implement more automation and syndication. Too many businesses act like that. It's corporate greed and beyond. And that scares me a hell of a lot more than incompetent politicians.
Yeah, and I think that, but on the same token, I think that employees are, saying, you know what, something's got to give now. Like, I think that this is like the straw breaking the camel's back and that great resignation. Like, it's for many things, but I think now inflation is getting higher on the list of why individuals are choosing to leave. It's like, I go to the grocery store and I only get 10 things and I'm like teetering $100, on my grocery orders. And so I think, and I'll use myself as an example. I think that we're getting to that point where it's like, I have to make more money. I'm going to have to. Did I get a cost of living increase this year? I sure did. Was it, did it equate to $1? No, it didn't, but I do know that like, I'm not saying, that's ridiculous. You might as well have kept that because I know that some employers are doing everything that they can. Some employers are also just strapped. Like there's just nothing you can do. And so I don't know what's happening. Like this is an interesting time in our economy. And I'm not a young adult, but I'm not an adult that has experienced stuff like this and really actually felt it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel it now. And so, it's interesting and frustrating. And Thomas and I were having a conversation last night because we were talking about taxes. And again, I mentioned this is a tight month for us. And I said, we have to do our taxes. I said, but you have to pay for that. He goes, what do you mean? Isn't it free? I said, it's free to do them. You have to pay to file them. What? I've got to pay? And I'm just, because he's never done his own taxes. So he's really kind of removed from that process. And he grew up differently. So learning about stuff like this is not like right on the tip of his brain. And I said, yeah. And so then he gets to going about, you know what? I'm an American. I love our country, but this sucks. Like it does. Yeah. It does. And then the conversation went to, why are we paying over $1,000 for a 1-bedroom? And I said, I don't disagree, hon. But like, if we get a 1-bedroom somewhere else, we're not going to be paying much less. And considering most of our utilities are included, we'll still be right around the same price. Renting is a scam. Like,
Well,
you know what I mean?
it's all a scam.
It's a scam.
That,
It's a scam.
like
And you go to the dark side and you're just like, ugh.
I know that like you've probably seen this. So the Fed will raise the interest rates in the next month or so or whatever, and that's supposed to help inflation. And look, there's a lot of economic things. Like most things, I don't understand, but like I know you fall into this. Like you want to build wealth by having your house, as opposed to just paying rent. Especially since you're not likely to up and leave. But like what I went through when I was debating whether to spend out of my ballpark for my apartment that was turning into a condo downtown. My dad kept telling me, it's like, yeah, you're earning equity there, but it's not worth anything unless one, you want to take another loan against it, which means you're going to be in more debt. And two, it's not worth anything unless you sell it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything is a scam.
It is. It's again, I'm just at that. I'm getting to be that, and I'm kind of like I'm happy about it, but at the same time, it just kind of you feel it a little more where you're like, I do want to move now. I'm ready to move. I'm ready to make a little bit more money. We're feeling the effects of inflation. This all sucks. And then you get there and you're like, okay, let's start doing these things. And then so much gets in your way. And in fact, and this could be a conversation for another day, I was having a conversation with my sister-in-law and my coworker here about just my culture and how we don't help one another sometimes when we can. And it's like you grow up in a family where there is the ability to maybe here's a couple thousand to help you with the down payment, or here's this to help you get your feet off the ground. And there's some cultures that do that and there's other cultures that don't. And why is that,
If Thomas wants to get upset about something else in this vein, and look, there's still stuff that I learn, tell him that my dad sends me and my brother money so that when he dies, we don't get hit with an estate tax. So tell Thomas that, yes, you have to pay the government when you die.
Oh my God. He probably would get furious, but I think Thomas and including myself, like that's that good for you and your dad. Again, oh God, how do I say this without sounding insensitive? Because I'm talking about my own community, but it's known and it's, there's people locally here that advocate and they're like activists for setting yourself up properly, which includes, insurance and, what's that called? Life insurance. Like
Yeah.
it includes life insurance because Thomas and I both, ended up having to pay when our loved ones passed, not get money. You know what I mean? We didn't get any money. Like we had to pay their stuff. And that's pretty common. And and my mom, whenever her time comes, she tried her hardest. And I think she did kind of stumble on something where we might get like a couple thousand. And when I say a couple, I mean like 3, which is just enough to take care of her final stuff.
It's expensive to die. Next time your mom comes over to the apartment, tell her, point like on top of the TV and say, Mom, you see that? That's where you're going to be.
Do you remember? You remember when like death traps were coming after me last year, and I'm like, God, my brakes went out, and then this happened and this happened. My mom had just bought like a life insurance package, and she said they will only honor it if she survives another 2 years. And then she got hit by a semi that same week.
Insurance mostly a scam.
Yeah, but yeah, it is. It's all anyway. That's a conversation for another day. But
last thing, if you want to, you want to make a little money off this, feel free to charge me for looking at Sonny's butt running outside.
Well, she's so cute. She's so cute.
That was adorable, and yeah, those two just like shot like a bat out of hell.
They do that, so they like to race out of the door. I don't know what it is. It's like the first time out the door and they act like they haven't been outside in over a year.
Right.
Petey, we put a coat on him this time because Pete's belly is bare compared to Sunny's where she has fur. So Petey had the bunny coat, but Sunny, and the snow was so high, it was their same height. And that both of my dogs are actually the exact same height, and there might be just a 2-pound difference in them. So they're same height, same weight, exactly the same. Same length too. Like they're both the same. It's weird actually how it worked out that way. But Yeah, we took him out. Sonny loves the snow. Petey was like, I'm not, no, no, thank you. And I brought him back in pretty quickly because he was ready to go. But yeah, they're
Yeah,
cute.
I think Andre pulled another muscle because the snow was too high, and I've cleaned up a lot of poop in the house the last couple days, but
Oh,
have
sweetie.
it, have it, enjoy it, because you know what? I'd rather clean that up than stand outside waiting for. And Diddy doesn't like. Diddy has a hard time pooping when the grass is wet, so thank God he can hold it for the most part. I will text you later, probably even soon, and I have some things to show you.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.